Hi, it's Miss Toni, and welcome to my channel. Congratulations, sis. Y'all did it. You got that sticky egg. You actually were able to get pregnant. Thank God. Now you can like sigh that breath of relief. It gets a little stressful, even though sex is a wonderful, pleasurable thing. It does get stressful when you're actually having to do it on a schedule. It can be a lot, and especially on the husbands who are usually the ones who want it all the time. And then all of a sudden they like, we got to do it again. But again, it's really because of that added pressure. So I will say with the 3 times that we were able to get pregnant, Kelvin knew every single time, which is very weird. I don't know how he knew, but he shot his shot and he knew that he made that shot every time. So sis, let's talk about how to get pregnant. It is way harder than I actually thought it would be. I think we all assumed it's just the girl we knew in high school who got pregnant the first time she had sex, and we think it's just that simple. And maybe it was when you're that young, but when you get older, which I'm 40 now, once you're older, I didn't start having kids until I turned 35. You have a different body at that point, a different you. And getting pregnant is not actually the easiest thing in the world for some women, I will say. For me, with our first Kennedy, we tried for a few months. I had just gotten off of birth control and we decided we were going to start trying. So we did try for a few months and I felt like it was forever. But honestly, looking back, I'm grateful that it happened when it did. It was perfect timing. I'm one of those women, when I breastfeed, which I breastfed both babies for a full year, I don't get my period the entire time. So with Cameron, we knew we wanted to have a second baby, but we had to wait until my cycle started back. And so it took a little bit over a year. And once my cycle did return, I had one cycle and then we were pregnant. So we didn't actually have to try with Cameron. I think I was just super fertile after breastfeeding. With the third baby, we also planned on it this year. I'm in law school, and so I knew that I had to plan around my life this time. And so, I told Cal, I was like, hey, we can try. I'll be 40 this year. So we can try for one more if you want. And we will have to do it precisely during these 3 months because that's my summer break next year in school. Always the control freak. Yes, I am. But I knew that, if I could plan it that way, then I wouldn't have to take a semester off and I could still graduate with my cohort. That is yet to be seen. So we'll see how things turn out. But that was the plan. So we tried for a couple ovulation cycles, and the third cycle, which was our last try, actually, we were able to get pregnant. The last time actually was a little tricky because he was out of town. So he had gone to spend some time with his mom in Detroit for her birthday, and I was ovulating. So it was like, okay, I kind of almost counted that month out. I only had 3 months to even try, and that was our third month. So he was gone. He didn't even know I was ovulating, but I was all stressed out at home. And thank God it still worked out with just 2 baby dances during that ovulation period. Thankfully, it was one of my longer ovulation periods. I think that one was 5 or 6 days. So thank God, because he knew my desires. He knew the desires of my heart, and he really did work that out. So I'm definitely grateful for that. So I mentioned ovulation. A lot of women, learn about their bodies as they get older and more mature. And ovulation is key. You really have to know your body. And I really do feel like over the course of these last 5 years, when I intentionally wanted to try to start a family, I started to listen to my body and pay attention to all the signs every month. I'm one of those women who has a very unpredictable cycle and always have. I mean, I started my period late at 13 and a half, which was super late for me because all of my friends started at like 9 and 10. But I was a skinny string bean, so I didn't start until right before I went to high school. But ever since then, I have had these very unpredictable periods. They're not 28 days like some women, 26 days, 30 days. They literally range anywhere in those numbers and change from month to month. And I've tracked them for years. And still, there's no pattern. There's no rhyme or reason. Some months I just won't even get a period. And the next month I'll have a period that's 3 weeks apart. So really, that's a challenge. And I say a challenge because I have dozens of friends and family members who are either going through the IVF process or looking to freeze eggs. So my little challenge shrinks to those. So a lot of women try to track their ovulation either through temping or through OPK sticks. And I played around with those for a couple months here and there about four or 5 years ago when I was trying to get pregnant the first time. I realized that just wasn't my shtick. And I honestly think you can get a little bit neurotic if you're focusing on those things. So again, for me, it really was just listening to my own body, knowing, like I mentioned earlier, that I have inconsistent periods. And so I have to know when I'm ovulating, not based on, you know, what the numbers say or predict. There's dozens of apps out there that you can use that can try to predict when you ovulate, but really you have to know yourself. So for me, it was really just paying attention to my cervical mucus, really paying attention to my discharge, how many days I have during each period, viscosity of the discharge. Those are things that you spend plenty of time Googling and you can learn all about it. But it's really important to know when you have that egg white cervical mucus, because that's when it's time to start doing what they call the BD, the baby dance, and getting ready, because your body is actually in a point where it's getting ready. But there are times when, for instance, there are some months when I have 5 days of the egg white cervical mucus, and then there are some months where I have only 1 or 2. So again, it's important, for at least for me, to start the day I see that, start trying. And like I said, there's so many methods out there. I do succumb to the not every day one, but the every other day or every 2 days. They say that for some men, that if they do have sex every day, their sperm count won't be as high, or even if they do have the quantity, they may not have the quality if it's a daily thing. And so for us, I either tried every other day or every 2-3 days as opposed to every day, and it worked for me. So now comes the 2-week wait. It is the worst. So you've ovulated, you guys have tried, done your baby dance, and now you have to wait 2 weeks to see if your period is going to be late. It is forever. This is the longest time frame in life. Why we gotta wait 2 weeks? But we do. So the only thing I would say to keep calm during that 2-week period, again, is to listen to your body, to try to determine if there's anything unusual, but not to try to be so much in sync that you think every little thing might be a sign of pregnancy, because usually it's not, especially if it's early on in that 2-week wait. But once you get towards that second part of it, you could start to have signs. So for me, I never had any blood or any discharge or anything during that time, but some women do. If you have anything like that, like I said, that's unusual, that doesn't usually happen between your ovulation and your period, then that could be a good sign that you may be pregnant. For me, I didn't have any signs at all. I try to listen to see if I'm going to like feel twitches in my uterus on one side or the other or something, and I don't feel anything. So for me, I just have to wait miserably until I'm either late or my period comes. And you guys know that my period is not consistent. So that's not always even a good sign for me if I waited 2 weeks and then my period may have started later that month or sometimes earlier that month. So sometimes for me, I don't have to wait the full 2 weeks if my period decides to come early that month. But for this time that we got pregnant, I had to wait the full 2 weeks, and I actually went on vacation around that time anyway. So it got my mind off of things and I didn't think about it, and ended up testing about a week later. So I waited 3 weeks this time and didn't drive myself crazy finally.